Hi everybody, it's Shanna with Shanna Sweets. Thanks for joining me for this month's edition of my Sweet Treats video. We're into July. It's actually July 4th. I'm sorry I'm a couple days late. Been a little sick and working a bunch, but we're going to get right into this. If you don't know what my Sweet Treats are, this is a card kit that I give to all my customers who order $25 or more. I appreciate it if you use the host code for that month. And I just want to show you what you get is you'll get this little package in the mail from me, and it comes with a PDF with instructions on that month's sweet treat. And you want to come to this video if you want to watch the video tutorial, but it does have instructions with all the supplies used. Usually a little side picture too, but it has a big picture. And then you will get the card pieces. If you choose to use the stamp set that I'm using that month, then you can order it. Now typically I try to use a circle or an oval. That you can use any set you want. This particular month I didn't do that, but you are getting the die cuts, so you can substitute a sentiment if you want, and it will work. So, like I said, you do have the base in here for 2 different cards, and there is envelopes in there also, so you can make 2 complete cards. And I'm not going to drag them out so that I don't make a mess. So this month, of course, being July, I'm kind of doing a Christmas in July theme, but this particular set that I'm using is called Hearts Come Home, and I felt like you could use this year-round if you wanted to. There is a bunch of Christmas sentiments on it, but I'm taking one of the sentiments that says All Hearts Come Home for Christmas, and I'm taking the For Christmas off and just saying All Hearts Come Home. So one of the cards, this particular one, I don't feel is a Christmas card. I'm using it as kind of wintry because I'm using the softly falling theme, but you could, I think, use it in the spring too, or if you wanted. Now I do have 2 different renditions of this card because I'm going to show you how I used oh crud, I just had a brain fart. We're going to color this with some sponging technique, and then I'm going to show you how just to do the background with Brusho. So let's get right to it. This Hearts Come Home does have a die, so you can get the dies for it also. And that's what I've used, the framelits, but there are stamps for the houses and trees. If you would like to do some stamping, you can do that also. I am using the little Santa and reindeer on the stamp set with the houses also too. So we're going to get right to it. I'm going to move that aside because I have that stuff out. We're going to make this card first. And for this one, I've changed the orientation a little bit, and we're going to do a top folding card. So I have my crumb cake bottom, which is actually 4 1/4 by the 11 of our 8.5 by 11 paper, and then we're going to fold it in half at the 5. Use my bone folder. And then I have Night of Navy at 5 1/4 by 4, and that one's just going to go straight down and go on the bottom. And then I have taken the softly falling embossing folder here and ran this through our Big Shot. So this one is 3 3/4 by 5, and then I just put the paper in like that, and then you run your bottom plate with the embossing folder and the paper. You do not need the top part here. You're just going to put a second plate on top and then run it through your Big Shot that way. And then out comes your paper like that. So But before I stick that down, I'm going to take some ribbon. Now you can do it two ways. You can either, I'm giving you enough that I left it in one piece, so you can wrap it around and tie it if you prefer to do that way. I actually like to cut mine and do it in two different pieces, but you could, so it's up to you. My tape dispenser has got, it broke, so I had to cut it off. So I'm just going to take two pieces of tape here, and let's see, I'm going to have the big snow at the top. So kind of figure out where you want. I think I'll put it about there. Fold it over. And now put my tape. Make sure you use a generous amount of tape when embossing folders because of the texture. And then that's when I like to take I go ahead and tie it a little knot. And then make my I don't have enough. I need a little more ribbon. Just tighten my bow up here. Don't we fiddle with bows way too long? So, you can use some glue dots and glue those down a little, but I'm not going to fiddle with it anymore right now. So, then what I've done is I've made a scallop out of some gold using the biggest scallop and then the second largest circle. I cut that out first out of the gold, cut the scallop out, then put the circle down to make my edge. So I did that to make the edge, and then what I did is I took, I just had me, oh here it is, so let me show you. Then I take the circle here, and then the framelit, and then I just laid the framelit on there like this. I want some of this down here showing, so just lay it like this and then run it through your big shot, so that way you still have this showing at the bottom, okay? And then that uses the circle that you cut out already on your gold piece. And then this is using the Twinkle Twinkle DSP, and I use the same circle to cut that piece out. Okay, so we're gonna put some tape, and then I'm gonna use a couple glue dots here for the top part of my houses so they don't get too loosey-goosey on me. And then find, I want some of these stars showing, so just line that up on your circle. I'm going to put this down solid on my DSP. I'm going to put extra tape on here because it's going on that texture. Then I'm using the mini dots, and on my scallop I went ahead and cut to be careful because it makes them, they're already small to begin with, and then you cut them in half and they become extra small. But I like having that little bit of dimension of my scallop sticking up, so have my paper off of there. Gotta move the paper. I think I'm going to do one more. And just make sure you have all the papers off. Can't hardly see them. And then that just goes around the edge. Okay, now we're going to put our sentiment. So, I'm going to use Versamark. I'm going to use a little bit of my Scotch tape that I just had 2 seconds ago. And of course, you have something and then you drop it, don't you? Oh, nope, I hid it under my sweet treat. So I'm going to mask off that bottom part with some tape. Don't forget to take your tape off. Now, I got to remember which part of my, so. And then I keep my embossing powder in these little totes. In this particular, well, I didn't use my embossing buddy, so I don't know, this may not, I did okay. So got a little bit over there by that A. So if you have a paintbrush, you wouldn't have as much if you use the embossing buddy. I have it sitting there, totally forgot the step. Now, that E did not come out very good, so if you're really careful here, can you see? Am I in the I'm sorry, I'm trying to see if I can get in the frame here. I'm going to try to just make my E more prominent. Did you see that? So I fixed it. I hope. Let's see how it looks. Take your heat tool. You can see this turn shiny. Okay, now, so this one, I got it more in the center. That other one, if you can tell, I actually cut it at the edge. So, but this one I did not. So this one, if I cut it at the edge, it would still show that part. So I think this one I'm going to leave the whole banner. So it's up to you. So this one here, I'm going to leave the whole one. And in that way. See each way. The whole banner versus just the edge of the banner. I like it both ways. So that's that card. So I'm going to move the Versamark. Don't need it no more. And let's see. Let's move these guys here out of the way. And that banner comes from the Bunches of Banners for You. There's framelits for that right here. They're called Bunch of Banner Framelits. And that's, I didn't use the stamp set, I just used the banners. So, okay, now we're going to make this card here. Let's start with the sponged one. So for this, you will get thick Whisper White. I don't know if you can see. This one's thin. Can you hear it? This one's thick. So that's the difference. So for the thin, we're going to use Pool Party, Pacific Point, and Night of Navy. I'm going to use our sponges, and I just take the sponge and cut it into fourths, and that's what I'm using. So you really don't see the very bottom, so you mainly want to do this part here, because this is what you're going to see. So that's the part. I'm just starting in the middle half of the paper. I'm going to lay down quite a bit of Pool Party because it's the lightest. And then I go ahead and go all the way to the top with the Pacific. I'll leave that one open just for a minute because I want to see. And then I get out my Night of Navy. Now, my Night of Navy, I'm going to go around the whole edges. Because that's going to go against my cardstock. So I like to go ahead and do that around the whole edge. And then that's going to be I think I'm going to go just a little darker up here on the very top. I think that's the way I like it. Now, I'm going to take, this is the Whisper White re-inker, and just take a couple, just a very little bit, and then either a spritzer or if you have a drop of the water, actually I have to give it squirted. I don't think I can do it with. I just want it to be a little bit thinner. However thick you like your stars to be. And you can take it if you want to add them yourselves. So say you want a little more in one spot, you can just kind of add little dots yourself if you use a really tiny brush. So and then you just wipe it off your block. There you go. Now, for time's sake, I'm going to use my heat tool to dry these. Okay, can you see that? Super cute. Now, I got some houses here, and I want to show you so I'm going to send you the houses like this in your sweet treat. You'll get them where they're already still in the, cut into a square. You're going to go through and you're going to cut where the bank is at and where the bank is at. Okay? And that's how you want to trim them up. Now, also you're going to take your trimmer here and you need to trim them to 5 1/4 inches. So you want to figure out where on your card here that you want them. So, and which one you want. I think, oh, it's there. In the front, where your sentiment. I think this is the one I plan on being my sentiment. Okay, so this one should be my sentiment, so I want this one to be 5 1/4. So where do I want? This one I want the 5 1/4 to be on this side also. So. Then you can decide how tall you want them to be. Make sure all your little pieces are out of the holes. So this one, of course, I want and you only need enough to make sure your sentiment fits. So I'm going to take another little bit off the bottom of this. Alrighty, that's better. So that one I want on the bottom. So if I want that one all the way. That one about there. Puts that one about there. So this one's going to go down completely flat. A couple more of my glue dots here. Okay, then this one I'm going to put up on pop dots. And I still got my minis out over here, so I'm going to use some of those on. Gotta be careful when you cut these things, because boy howdy, they get dinky. Okay, then, okay, so before I put the dot on there, I'm going to use the red, excuse me, not red, cherry cobbler. But I think I'm going to put the sentiment on this side. And then that one goes on the very bottom. Now I took my little Santa Claus and reindeer, stamped them, and then I'm going to just stamp him at the top. Now take of course I'm going to put lots of tape because it's kind of a heavy piece now. And I'm going to take my Night of Navy, fold real quick, make sure I have a good burnishment there, and it's going to go right on top. There you go. Now, I want to show you that you can, I did another alternative with this card because I thought, oh, that is so cool. What would that look like with Brusho? So you can use the Thick Whisper White. Let me get rid of those dimensionals. I'm going to put a paper towel down here just because I don't want my pad all totally soaked. Now, this is our Brushos in the Prussian blue. Of course, you don't want to open your Brushos, the whole container, just poke a hole in the top. And then tap it out. Of course, remember I said you only have to do the top. And I didn't want it, you can do it just blue. I wanted a little bit of something else, and since we don't really have a light blue, I went ahead and went with yellow. Because I figured that would resemble like the sun going down or something. Now, the thing with the Brusho is it looks better if you let it dry naturally. You can use your heat tool, it just doesn't. And you can wet it first, and you can use your water brush if you want. Now, that's not very dark, so I can go through while it's wet and kind of add a little more if I want it darker, to be more darker sky. See how that got darker now? Except all my yellows kind of, let's see if I add some yellow in there. The thing with Brusho is you never get the same look twice, so that's what's kind of nice about it. So I do kind of like that with the that kind of green tone right in there. So that's gonna, I think that, I'm trying to decide, I'll probably put my houses up a little more so it covers that line, because I don't want that line right there. So now the only thing I want to tell you is sometimes you can get this, the crystals are still a little chunky in some spots. So someone said to use White Rain hairspray, and that'll kind of seal it. So that way the crystals don't get reactivated if the cards get wet or something. So and the more water you apply, the more wet it gets, so it pools. If I was spraying farther away, I want to show you, maybe if I have I have another piece here. Let's try another piece. You kind of just got to play with it and kind of So maybe go farther up. So see, I didn't spray, so if I let that dry and then spray a little more, you get more of this look. So that way the crystals don't get wet and pool. I hope that makes sense. You just have to play with it. They're really fun. It just takes some practice. So that's my cards for this month's sweet treat. This is the stamping technique. That's what you get, again, for being a customer, ordering $25 or more on my page. There's a super cool paper sale this month. Buy 3 packs, get 1 free. It's only certain ones, though, so I will have a link for that on my blog. And thank you for joining me. Bye.